Right now, a motorcycle pursuit in the Inland Empire.
And Desmond Shaw's live in Sky Cal. Keep it up. Des?
Well, Pat and Chauncey, we are in the Inland Empire, but not too much longer. We are flying westbound on the 60. Look at these speeds, well over 100 miles an hour. The want, of course, is speed. That definitely makes sense here. CHP in pursuit as we make our way towards Diamond Bar. So this began in LA County with the Baldwin Park CHP. It was kind of that nightly thing that Mike and I joke about because it really is almost every single night where it seems like it's Baldwin Park CHP chasing a motorcycle. 95% of the time, the motorcycle steps on the gas and they get away. Maybe CHP got tired of that. They decided they are sticking with this one. This person has not gotten away. They did go eastbound all the way into the Inland Empire to about Fontana and then came back west. And so now we are getting back into LA County. We intercepted this right around the Chino Hills area. So here we go, westbound 60, very high speeds with CHP in pursuit of this fast motorcycle, Pat. Chauncey?
And as far as we know, Desmond, it is because of speed that they are after this motorcyclist, right?
Yes, speed, the only want that we've heard. We haven't heard about the motorcycle being stolen or anything like that. But, you know, this really is such a common occurrence with Baldwin Park specifically, and it seems to start right around the same area almost every night, around the 10 and the 6:05. And I believe that's kind of where we first heard about this one tonight as well. They were trending east, got pretty deep into the Inland Empire. We're wondering if we were ever going to catch up with it. Decided to get off the freeway and reverse course, and now we are basically back into LA County.
Yeah, Desmond, I was about to say, we were talking to Mike Rogers about this, and it took us a while to get here because this suspect going very fast. We understand it started on the 10, then he hit some surface streets, then got to Laverne, and now you talked about it, headed back to LA County. This suspect has been booking it, going now at 115 miles per hour.
Yeah, the speedometer there kind of having some trouble getting the exact speed, but yeah, we've been well over 100. I mean, we've been hearing about triple digits almost for the entirety of the pursuit. At one point, they had slowed down to about 40 miles an hour. You know, with these motorcycles, it's really just crazy how daring these riders could be sometimes with the chances that they take. And unfortunately, when you're talking about, you know, a cruiser in pursuit of a motorcycle, there are so many advantages that the motorcyclist has if they're willing to take those risks. And, you know, this driver has been. But look at CHP is right here letting them know that they mean business. They do not want this guy to get away. We see this sometimes with CHP where I think they just get so fed up with these motorcycles that they just decide, you know what, we've got to set an example. We got to take this one as far as we possibly can. That's what it looks like we're looking at tonight.
And you know what, Des, I was talking with Mike. How fast can these CHP vehicles go? That was my question. What's the speed limit for them?
Well, the fastest, you know, I mean, the fastest I've ever seen them in pursuit, in fact, Pat, we covered it one time. I remember it was on the 5. It went from East LA down to Orange County, and I think that the guy ran out of gas.
Yeah.
We saw CHP keeping up at 140, 145 at one point. So, you know, I guess if the sergeant allows it, they can basically go as fast as they need to keep eyes on these motorcycles.
And, you know, it's interesting. I see the helicopter is keeping up because sometimes that's not the case, right?
Well, that is, yeah. I mean, sometimes these guys get going so fast. You know, when we launched Desmond tonight, he was going eastbound, and I made a joke that said, you know, Des will get there in time for KCAL News Mornings by the time we close the gap of how fast this guy's going versus how fast we can go. But then he came back westbound. But, you know, Desmond mentioned that, you know, a lot of times, 99% of the time, they lose these motorcycles because they pin it, step on the gas. This situation, and I don't know why, but the CHP helicopter just so happened to be in the area already. So usually we wait for the CHP helicopter to launch from their base in Fullerton and come join the pursuit. In this situation, that CHP helicopter was already in the area and made it much harder for them to lose the guy because the air unit was right on top of it.
And Mike, we're talking about a lot of ground this motorcycle has covered. Do we know around what time this all started?
We launched Desmond probably about 10:45, I believe. Yeah, 10:42 is what time I texted him. So that's what time we first started hearing about this. But yeah, he went eastbound for a while, and then for a second I thought maybe he was gonna try to ditch the bike because he got off in Ontario just kind of.
Wow.
Oh, look at that! What? Look at this cruiser. Cruiser's keeping up with them.
Yeah. Yeah, this CHP officer is very skilled in getting around, but I mean, you see just how dangerous this is, not just for the motorcyclist, but for that officer as well. Because, I mean, you're talking about them going, speeds close to double what everyone else is going. And they have to just react that much more quickly. Everyone around them, they're wanting to try to get over to the right, but then everything is just happening so fast that it's just very dangerous for everyone involved. Now, they are putting a little bit of distance right now, but, like Mike was saying there, I think maybe the authorities may have just gotten lucky tonight with having kind of right place, right time with the airship to keep a visual of the suspect, because, like I said, so many times, almost nightly, these guys get away. Now on the right-hand shoulder where there could be debris, you've got a motorcycle. He could just clip anything right there and completely lose control, and that would be the end. We're also in a construction zone right now, so CHP is almost certainly going to at least temporarily disengage this pursuit. Whenever they go through a construction zone like this, we hear they actually say 1022 like they're canceling. They usually re-engage once it's safe, but I mean, look at this. Into the gore point, onto the right-hand shoulder to get away. This person is just really, really rolling the dice right now.
Because, we've seen it before, unfortunately. It only could take a pebble to just get underneath that bike, and he could be disengaged. We certainly don't want to see that happen, but we have on our air before. So there are a number of obstacles, as you talked about, Desmond, with construction zones or just any kind of debris being on the freeway. Is this still Baldwin Park?
Okay, getting off the
CHP?
freeway.
Well, he's getting off now.
Oh, no. Yeah, I believe it. I'm not sure which division it is. At one point, I had heard Baldwin Park that they were wanting to re-engage if they had the units, but we're getting off the freeway now at Azusa. I mean, we just saw speeds of about 140 miles an hour. They were going about as fast as we can in Skycal. Now turning back around, I've got to imagine that this rider needs a little bit of a break after just the insanity of driving a motorcycle like that. And, let's remember, these motorcycles don't have very big gas tanks. And so the faster you go, the quicker they're going to go through that gas. That's how we've seen some of these end in the past when the authorities have been able to stick with them. Is that they basically just exhaust their fuel supply. But look at CHP; they're now back with this one. So let's see where they're going, what they're thinking now that we're on surface streets. Definitely going to elevate the danger for everybody involved.
It does, and unfortunately, it seems that with most of the motorcyclists that we've seen, the want has just been speed. And when I say just been speed, it's not as if they are wanted for felonies, but it's generally speed. They usually run out of gas. We've been seeing times where they are stopped at a light. I know you guys will never forget this one, when the officers just got tired and went over and pushed the guy down, pushed him off the bike, said, okay, enough of this. And, everything ended peacefully, and thankfully no one was injured during that whole pursuit. And sometimes they don't end as calmly as that. We're hoping that it does end more calmly tonight, that's for sure. But the danger is even more so now because they're still on surface streets.
And Mike, I want to talk to you about the different tactics that police use when we're talking about a motorcycle versus a car. But CHP officers right behind this suspect, maneuvering very well. Desmond talked about this officer being very skilled, being able to keep up with this motorcyclist.
Yeah, and you kind of nailed it right there on the head, Chauncey. I mean, when you have a motorcycle, the bag of tricks that CHP has almost completely goes away. You can't do a pit maneuver. You can't do spike strips. You can't really block them in. All of that kind of goes out the window here. So at this point, I mean, this is a follow and wait till the guy runs out of gas or gives up and tries to run or does something. But the dangers, increase significantly when we get onto surface streets here, especially when you've got that patrol car trying to keep up with this guy. I mean, you're doing 80 miles an hour now down a surface street here, and that could end very poorly very quickly. And there's another, it looks like a unit maybe blocking an intersection there. But yeah, I mean, they don't have a lot of choices but to follow and wait till this guy wants to be done or is forced to be done because the motorcycle runs out of gas.
The question, they can run that plate, right?
Yeah, and I haven't heard them run it yet, and I don't know if that's because, for a long time with these, that's the other thing with these motorcycles, they get going so fast, these units can't get close enough to get a license plate. But now that we've been on surface streets for a little bit, it will be interesting to see if they're able to get a plate. I haven't heard them run it yet, though.
Okay, the reason I ask that, too, is if sometimes, if they know where this person lives, if he's in a vicinity where it looks like he could be going to his address, sometimes they will let it go if it's just
Eastbound,
wanted
right.
for speed, and knowing that they will catch up with him later. They know where he lives.
Yeah, they'll go to his house and wait for him to come home or
Yeah.
try to get him at a later date. But now we're getting back on the freeway, which is at least good news for people on the surface streets. And Des, I thought you said we're going eastbound, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And this is at least the second or even third diversion kind of on and off the freeway that we know that this suspect has done. You know, it started on the 10, went out of Ontario, kind of danced around some surface streets there, then came back west on the 10, and then was around Ontario Airport, actually cut down to the 60 from the 10, and then on the freeway, then we were just off and now back on as we now head back to the Inland Empire. So, you know, again, just wondering if that driver was kind of just looking for a little bit of a break from the adrenaline of going up to 140 miles an hour at one point, and or what the tactic is, but yeah, they are still just continuing to book it. I mean, what else is going on here besides speed that you're willing to really gamble with your own life? And it's not an over-exaggeration. I mean, we have obviously, there's been some very infamous motorcycle pursuits that have ended in the worst way possible, very, very violently. And I mean, you wonder how someone, you know, is willing to do this. And we've all encountered it on Southern California freeways. If it's, you know, lane splitting at 65, 70 miles an hour, or you're going 65, 70, they're going 120, they're just darting all over the place. I mean, there is definitely some motorcycle madness in Southern California, and here is a perfect example of it tonight.
And a lot of semis on the road, too, in Southern California. And he certainly has passed a few, and that's always pretty scary when you think about, but it wouldn't even take a semi. It could just take anything.
Right.
As we mentioned, a pebble or another vehicle, just him, you know, trying to get past someone, and actually someone maybe getting in his way.
Construction zone.
Yeah, and as Desmond just mentioned it, coming back into this construction zone now. So,
look at that.
Yeah, I'm sure CHP is going to back off again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this guy just got really close to some of those cones right there. I mean, you hit one of those cones at 120. I mean, I can imagine you could lose control very, very easily. So that's, you know, the other thing that we've been seeing is not just zigging and zagging across lanes, but into and out of construction zones, onto the right-hand shoulder where there's debris. Just an outrageously dangerous pursuit so far.
Have they changed up units? You know, sometimes we've seen where they've gone in different jurisdictions, or if they've been following them for a while, they might change up formation. Mike?
Yeah, so we're kind of straddling two of the CHP offices. We're straddling the Baldwin Park office, which is the one that started this, which Des and I always joke have a motorcycle chase every night. Yeah, and then we're also in the Rancho Cucamonga office. So they've been handing off. As they go into San Bernardino, they'll give it over to Rancho Cucamonga, and then he comes back, and they give it back to the Baldwin Park unit. So they are at least getting kind of a little bit of a break as he crosses the county line, which is good for those officers. We did that one a couple weeks ago where they were all in the same area, and it was the same officers chasing them for like almost 2 hours. So these guys are at least getting a little bit of a break as they cross the county lines.
Certainly more than this motorcycle.
Yes, yeah.
And with it so dark outside, it's also a very dangerous situation. And this, the motorcycles, like even for the suspect. And Mike, we were talking about this, how all of the tricks and the tactics from CHP are kind of thrown out because it's a motorcycle. So what do? Just let the suspect go until, like you said, he runs out of gas, or he just stops. And we have that incident that Pat talked about earlier where they just
push him over. Yeah.
Say,
I mean,
off.
that would be best case scenario if he chooses to stop at a stop sign. But you know, the motorcycles are such a hit and miss thing. I mean, CHP could go into tracking mode, and they could just ask the helicopter to follow it, but motorcycles can so easily slip the helicopters too, right? They can get under a freeway. Even we've seen them go through parks, under trees, like do a lot. They have so much more maneuverability as a motorcycle to even ditch the air unit, whereas a typical car doesn't have that much flexibility.
And at this point, as we're looking now, it just seems they're playing this, I don't want to say game, but this sort of is. Like, I'm faster than you, and yeah, I know I'm in trouble because I've broken some laws here, but the most prolific one we've seen is that he's just driving fast and recklessly. But, you know, again, the longer it goes on, sometimes you take your life into your own hands, especially as Desmond mentioned on the freeways here in Southern California. And interesting, I guess they're not doing anything ahead, because what could they do? You know, we've seen them sometimes slow down traffic ahead, but in this case...
Yeah, he's just going too fast. They can't, I mean, they could set up a traffic brake behind the officers, but that doesn't really do a ton. And the fact that it's kind of on again, off again the freeway, that's also challenging. I mean, the traffic brakes kind of only work when the vehicle is, or whatever they're chasing is going slow enough to not catch up to the traffic that's already on the freeway. But in this situation, he's going so fast, they wouldn't be able to stop enough traffic to keep the freeway clear.
Gotcha. And once again, this motorcycle pursuit starting in the Laverne area, went far into the Inland Empire, then came back into LA County. Now here back on the 60, got on some side streets, some surface streets at one point, had a close call getting back on the, getting off the freeway at one point, and then getting back on, trying to trick CHP, but they are on his tracks as well as they have been since we got on this. Mike, you talked about it being launched at around 10:45, and here we are at 11:28, and this motorcyclist has covered a lot of ground and going to speeds of over 120 miles per hour.
Yeah, and as Desmond was talking about, I mean, these motorcycles don't have terribly large gas tanks.
Right.
I mean, if he's going 120, 130 for a very consistent period of time, it's not going to last him forever. And we never are able to obviously get in the heads of these suspects, but I mean, he's got to know that. He's a motorcycle rider, and in theory, he owns this motorcycle. He's got to know how long it can last. So you sit here and you think, well, what does he think the game plan is for all of this? Obviously, CHP's not giving up. There were at one point 2 helicopters overhead. Now there's just the CHP helicopter, but what's the end game when this is all done and when you can't continue anymore?
Yeah, CHP and Des. So,
yeah.
So there are definitely eyes on this motorcyclist.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We talk about that area of the 10 and the 605 where these things usually happen. He's going back eastbound. So, you wonder, is there a pattern? Is there an end game here? He was going 60 westbound turnaround. Now he's going back the other way.
Yeah, and I thought maybe when he got back on the freeway to go eastbound, I thought maybe he figured out that when he went through the construction zone, they backed off. And maybe that's why he was trying to cross back through that construction zone. But for whatever reason, when they went eastbound through the construction zone, the sergeant didn't make him discontinue this time. This time he let him stay with him. So if that was his plan, that didn't work. But yeah, we are coming kind of back to the place where he was before. We're just about southwest of the Ontario airport here, which is where he was.
Cut off the freeway
and here we go.
Another exit.
Yep, back off the freeway.
All right, Des.
At Euclid, which I believe I think that's going to be the second time that we were on Euclid.
Yep.
Because we heard about, I think when he cut from the 10, he used Euclid to get down towards the 60. So let's see what they're going to do and if they're going to answer your question, Pat, if there is some kind of strategy here. I mean, I'm frankly thinking that maybe this is one of these motorcycles or the one that has been running from Baldwin Park almost every night, and they just think, oh, all I got to do is speed up and get away, and they'll disengage eventually, just basically daring CHP to, pursue them. But it seems like tonight CHP's calling their bluff because, like I said, maybe they're just tired of it, or if it's just a particularly aggressive sergeant that's on duty tonight, allowing this pursuit to continue. But at some point, you got to imagine that CHP just gets fed up with it, and it just maybe, I guess you could say, maybe doesn't set a good example to just let motorcycles get away all the time just because they accelerate away from you. They also had the benefit of the helicopter to be able to keep up with this tonight at the beginning of the pursuit. So not sure what the logic is on other end, but it really seems like this motorcyclist is just daring CHP to continue this, as we are now at about the same speed on the freeways. We are really upping the ante now at this point. Now 115 miles an hour on Riverside Drive, where there could be potholes, there could be anything in the middle of the road. There could be someone that's pulling out of a driveway, something like that, in the center lane here. So, boy, just when you thought it couldn't get any more dangerous, even more amplified now.
He just blasted through that intersection.
And Desmond, you called it. You can't help but to point out just how skilled that CHP officer is, especially as this motorcycle maneuvers suddenly fast, getting off the freeway onto these surface streets. But CHP officers right there behind him.
Yeah, they have done a really remarkable job in keeping up. I mean, on the 60 freeway, had to do some pretty fast maneuvers there when the motorcycle was able to split lanes between a couple cars. CHP had to go across several lanes to make sure that they were still in pursuit of this person. But now we'll see if they're going to continue this, because it is even yet another level of danger. Look at this, on the wrong side of the road even for no reason. So it really just seems like this maybe this is a veteran pursuit suspect that has been in other ones. I mean, the way that they are behaving right now, that would be my working theory.
Yeah, that I'm going to get away. Mike, can you tell us about this East Riverside Drive that he's on now? How far?
He can take this all the way to the 15, and then it looks like it kind of parallels the 60.
Southbound Archibald.
Is he slowing down?
Yeah.
A little bit here as we make a southbound turn on Archibald, well into Chino Hills. So I believe this will take us down towards the Corona area. I'm not sure how far Archibald goes down, but we're basically paralleling the 15 freeway right now, well west of the 15.
Okay, that was my next question. Does he have access to another freeway?
Archibald will go all the way down until it turns into River Road, which will then put him kind of smack dab in Corona. So in order to hit a freeway...
Going into a neighborhood.
Oh.
Well,
okay, this is different.
I think we're done. Are we going to be done here? Yep, sure looks like it. And
well.
now let's see what happens here. Maybe
right
out of
there.
gas. Look at this. They just and we are done.
And
I think he might
hands
have run
up.
out of gas, or maybe this was their home, or what. But just like that, from danger to handcuffs in less than 60 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, so that was his modus operandi. I'm just going to go as far as I can. I'm rather enjoying this. Maybe I've got the adrenaline going that I can get away from CHP officers, and it's going to be a catch if catch can. And okay, well, now I'm done.
And Mike, is it me? But that went to, we say it went from 0 to 100, but it went to 100 to 0 very, very
Really
fast.
quickly.
Yeah, and I never heard a registered owner's address, so who knows if he lives here. But I hope you enjoyed it. That felony evading is going to be that's a serious charge.
Well, the interesting thing too, Desmond, it would be interesting to find out if this is a guy that's been trying to get away from them before.
Our nightly motorcycle face. Yeah,
that has engaged in these kinds of pursuits.
And then just getting up like that.
I would really love to know. I mean, I am just wondering if this is their house or if he was just nearly out of gas and tried kind of one last Hail Mary there, going 115 on that street to see if that would get them to disengage. But they said, not tonight. We are going to stick with you to the end, and they did. And now he is going to jail.
All right. Well, Desmond, we are going to call a code 4 on this high-speed pursuit tonight. And with that,